Hello there, my name is Joseph Nixon. This presentation reviews the current water management strategies and develops a solution on how to fulfill the water consumption needs of people in underdeveloped communities. In the presentation, an interdisciplinary approach will be used to bridge chemical engineering and organizational leadership to find creative ways to implement water cleaning and delivery solutions. Many different studies in these two disciplines will be used to draw connections across the disciplines and create a solid basis from which further research can be done on solving the water crisis. By integrating these studies together, we can find ways to approach and solve the issue of clean water availability. And thank you for coming on this journey with me today. The global supply of water is delivered, treated, and allocated through many different forms throughout the world. Various parts of the world implement different strategies for water purification, depending on the resources and technology that are available to them. The problem, however, is that although the world has developed many different strategies to provide the global population with water, millions of people do not have access to clean and safe water. This is a huge, complex issue, not only because the magnitude of the people it affects, but because without multiple perspectives working homogeneously towards a solution, mankind will never truly eradicate clean water scarcity and its effects on the world's population. Without the technology developed through chemical engineering and the political organizational power of organizational leadership, this complex problem cannot be solved, and people will continue to die from the effects of unclean and unavailable water. The people who live without modern filtration systems often find themselves susceptible to disease and waterborne illnesses that could easily be prevented through the implementation of water treatment strategies. A joint study conducted by UNICEF and the World Health Organization estimated that in sub-Saharan Africa alone, women and children spend 16 million hours traveling by foot to get clean water. Many of these water sources are not considered safe and are untreated sources of water like rivers and lakes. You also see a lot of other statistics here that hopefully are a little alarming to you that we do have a big issue. One can easily see how this problem is pressing, but what makes this problem complex is that it is an ongoing crisis that no one in the world has been able to stop. Water is owned by many different municipalities and people, and it's used by people and businesses and agriculture. Water needs resources to be treated, and water cannot always be treated the same way depending on what's contaminating it. And moving water large distances to places that don't have water is tough. Although it seems like you put water in a pipe and move it, it's not exactly that easy. Eradicating clean water scarcity is going to require cooperation of millions of people and dozens of governments and businesses and landowners and people and many perspectives, to say the least. These perspectives have to work together like a puzzle to find a solution to the current clean water crisis. Relevant disciplines that I found were chemical engineering, organizational leadership, and chemistry. You can think of it as, you know, how do we get water to people? How do we get the resources to the project? And how do we clean the water in the first place? Chemical engineering looks at, moving large amounts of material from point A to point B in pipes and mass filtering particles for human consumption. Just because, you can clean 1 gallon of water with a life straw or some sort of single-use device, how do we clean millions and millions of gallons every day to support people who are not currently getting clean water? Organizational leadership is going to really give any sort of plan we have structure and create vision and set goals. Working with multiple governments and multiple municipalities and multiple landowners and with all the resources that we'll have, we need to have a very structured management system. We have to have goals and we have to have milestones. And then looking at chemistry, water molecules are considered kind of small compared to bacteria and stuff. So what size filters do we need to filter out certain bacteria that may be in certain water systems or heavy metals and different things like that? So these disciplines are all very, very relevant to how we're going to end up cleaning water. Many different sources were used to compile lots of data. From the chemical engineering side, I found many different papers that wrote about how to filter water different ways. You can distill water, you can use a membrane to exclude particles from clean water, you can put something in the water to clean it. All of them have their own uses and their own reasons why they should be used. From an organizational leadership perspective, a big paper in 2013 was titled Perceptions of Water Ownership, Water Management, and the Responsibility of Providing Clean Water. In this paper, researchers looked at different ways to influence how people use water and figure out how to save it. Water prices have steadily been increasing, and there are many reasons to believe that this water crisis will increase and get larger, and people even in developed regions of the world with water resources will eventually not have the resources they currently have. These researchers found that a majority of people believe that the government should find ways to ensure that everyone has access to water, yet many water authorities do not directly control water. Having a continuous supply of potable fresh water is pivotal for a healthy society and an essential facet of our lives as humans. Without clean water, waterborne illnesses like Guinea worm disease and other harmful pathogens would soon become commonplace in our society. Many of these pathogens are currently very common in regions of the world that lack proper water filtration infrastructure. According to the statistics I gave you earlier, it's estimated 2.5 billion people do not have enough clean water to meet their needs. These people are at the most risk of contracting diseases that cause blindness, diarrhea, and other serious symptoms. The CDC also states on their page about global water hygiene that unsafe drinking water results in about 2,200 child deaths every day, which translates to about 3 children per minute who die due to unclean water. For this problem to resolve worldwide, multiple disciplines work simultaneously and in unison is required. This is due to the many factors that keep this problem persisting in a time where, from many people's perspective, clean water is always available. Chemical engineering is the science of making a product in vast quantities for the cheapest cost possible. In the discipline of chemical engineering, polymer research has led to many new water cleaning systems that are currently used in water treatment today. However, finding a way to fund and organize these projects is something most engineers do not know how to handle. This is where organizational leadership comes in the spotlight. Where are we going to find funding for a project as big as this? How will we deal with different governments and water owners? Getting the resources aligned in all parties on a common goal is the essence of organizational leadership, and coupled with the best water technology, the world can solve how to most efficiently clean enough water and to best allocate the resources needed to work towards solving the water crisis around the world. Although the problem of water in society is broad, deconstructing the pieces in a way, finding ways to combat the use of unclean water in undeveloped areas is a very pressing concern. Here you can see some of the major conflicts and differences in chemical engineering and organizational leadership. Their approach to problems tend to be very different. Chemical engineering is very into the numbers and quantifying things. They definitely think of the world as black and white, where an organizational leader can see a lot of the colors of the rainbow it's a broad umbrella of management strategies where chemical engineering is very narrow, tight scientific research that can then be applied to a broad array of different things. According to Repco, creating common ground is like building a bridge in order to span a deep chasm, uh, where these two insights can be integrated. They both have an active role in decision making. Engineers solve problems when organizational leadership gives them resources and guidance. Uh, Research works a lot better when you know the confines of your box, and organizational leadership can outline those boxes. What can you spend to move a gallon of water, or what can you spend to uh, desalinate a gallon of water, or big things like that. Both of these disciplines have very similar ethics and very similar goals, and from those goals, I do think that they can create like a bridge and enough common ground to work through very, very, very complex problems like the one I've presented for you today. Creating a global water infrastructure that is robust enough to meet the needs of everyone is a huge undertaking. Many parts play into the final product, and with economical, political, and scientific barriers, it's easy to see why there are still parts of the world that do not have access to clean potable water. Organizational leadership can pool the different spheres of work that need to be done and align them with a common attainable goal. With different areas needing different water treatments and having different resources, chemical engineering would be a great way to see how to most efficiently clean and create the water needed for different populations. Chemical engineering cannot exist without resources and without organizational leadership finding the resources necessary. It would be very difficult for any work to come to fruition. Needing organizational leadership to further the efforts of chemical engineering comes with the added benefit of a centralized management system that is more efficiently ran. This plays out on a large scale as a database that would need to be accessed by multiple organizations and governments. Together, these disciplines can find solutions to problems that currently are not explored. Cleaning and recycling water more efficiently will greatly increase the health of our population and ecosystems that we reside in. Improving the quality of water in small rural populations may not seem relevant to people in the United States now, but given enough time, the problem of water availability will make its way to us as well. Looking at the droughts in California, and imagine what that would do if it hit the US as a whole. Testing new water saving and cleaning systems takes funding, and finding this funding would be a first big step in solving the current water crisis and future ones. Studying new polymers and filtration techniques is the best way to secure water for our population, and together I think we can solve it. Thank you for your time.